Welcome to the very first World's Mayor Wisdom, a segment in the World's Mayor Experience. Really grateful to have you here today because we are going to talk about HIV. Yeah, that HIV, the thing that, the disease that no one really likes to talk about. Or I shouldn't say no one, but very few people, because it's not a party starter. It's not something that says, hey, come and give me a hug when you first start talking about it. That said, it's an important subject because we live in a very over-sexualized culture. And you call me a victim of that because this is what the world I grew up in, being very over-sexualized, being molested as a kid, abused, and so on. You know, I was exposed to things very early on, but ultimately, you know, it was my decisions and my choices that led down a very risky and dangerous path that inevitably gave me HIV. And I got to tell you, even though it's been over 7 years since I found out, and now I live a very healthy, happy life, I'm undetectable. I can't spread the disease to anyone. And I'm very fortunate to have an amazing partner in Jessica that in life, love, business, and everything that she stands by me. But also, I get to keep her healthy and keep her safe because I take my medication. And again, I'm undetectable. I can't pass it on. But it's amazing to me that a lot of people don't know that. They don't know what undetectable means. Some of people have never heard that before. But what's really alarming, because again, I can talk about how you get HIV all you want. I mean, all day long. I can talk about how I got it. And there's a whole chapter in my book, The Devil Inside Me, that talks about the day I found out I had HIV and what I did after. And it wasn't good, and it wasn't healthy, and it wasn't the right thing to do. A lot of my behavior early on when I first found out was anything but nice or kind or good or healthy or smart or wise. And frankly, some of it was just evil. And it's been awful. That was awful to do that. And of course, now having the opportunity to talk about HIV in a way that is less troubling and to speak hope and life into the subject, because here's the facts. It's not a death sentence. Can AIDS be? Yes. But I mean, I've had guests on previous broadcasts that had AIDS and they're healthy because of the medication that's available. And that defied everything I had ever heard because, you know, AIDS is supposed to be the death sentence and HIV is the precursor to AIDS. That said, it never went that far for me, but I am blessed that I medicated early enough that I was able to make my condition undetectable in a matter of months. And I wanted to take this time in this very first segment to say this. For people out there that have HIV, I mean, some of you already know this, but just because you have HIV doesn't mean that your dreams don't get to come true. Just because you find out that you have HIV does not mean that you are not worthy of love, because you are worthy of love. And if you're somebody that thinks that they need to stay in an abusive relationship, a toxic relationship, an abusive relation, I think I said abusive relationship, but if you think you're one of those people that your life is over, you'll never have your dreams come true, you'll never find the love of your life because you have HIV or any other disease for that matter, I got news for you. It's not true. I, with HIV, with all of my dark, bad history, managed to not only start to live the life of my dreams, but I'm with the woman of my dreams and have the family of my dreams. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. Your life is not over. There's a lot of people, though, and this alarms me, that have autoimmune diseases or they're showing symptoms of autoimmune diseases. They're getting sick often. They're sluggish and fatigued, and they won't go look. They won't get tested. They won't check it out. And there's another demographic as well. There's a lot of unsuspecting partners out there that are with cheaters. And I was that cheater, for the record. and I'm not judging anyone. I just want you to know that if you're cheating, the damage that you're doing is not just to the person you're cheating on, not just to you, but it's the people in that person's life that are also being affected. It's a very selfish action. And again, I'm not judging because I was that guy. There's a whole chapter in The Devil Inside Me dedicated to cheating and my cheating. There's a lot of men or boys trapped in men's bodies that are not willing to be honest about their sexuality or their confusion with their sexuality, or they don't really know what their sexuality is or what the desires they are having. I get it. And then they cheat and they sneak around. The problem is sometimes when they sneak around and cheat, they're not using protection, or they're using drugs, or they're using other things. And again, I'm just speaking to a life I know, not judgment, speaking to a life I know. And what happens is that they don't tell their partner, and then they sleep with them unprotected, and then they're spreading disease, not even realizing they're doing it. Or maybe they don't want to know that they're doing it, or they don't want to know that they could be doing it. It's scary. It's scary to think about. It's scary to think of the risk that my risky behavior put a lot of people at risk. And whether it was people I was cheating with, I put them at risk. People that in our open relationship and our swinging and all that crap putting at risk. And I mean, there was just a lot of that, and it wasn't safe. And then on top of doing all that other stuff with that my partners knew about, there was the stuff that they didn't know about that I was doing. And so I'm not trying to project my crap on you or my old crap on you, but I'm saying all of this to say that if you're one of those people, I get it and I understand. And I just want you to know that the only way out of this is truth, because the lies will catch up to you and the lies are hurt. But that's not what I'm going to spend the time on here. What I want to focus on is HIV itself, because it's not a death sentence and you can live a healthy life. You can live a normal life. So I want to spend this time right now going over some just key things about HIV that you should know that maybe you don't know. And of course, if I can ever be of support or counsel for you, if you're somebody that just found out they have HIV, or you're worried that you have HIV, or you have HIV and you feel alone, I want you to know that I'm here for you. You can reach out to me anytime and I will talk to you. It's scary. It's like, it's an awful feeling. And again, there's a whole chapter in my book about the way I behaved as soon as I found out. And I can promise you there's a better way. So, HIV remains a significant global health issue. And while many things are commonly discussed, there are several lesser known crucial aspects of the epidemic that deserve attention. Late diagnosis. Many individuals are diagnosed with HIV at a late stage, which can lead to worse health outcomes. Emphasizing the importance of regular testing, even those who believe they are at low risk, is crucial. So I really want to encourage you to get tested. If you're somebody that's sleeping around, somebody that you suspect that your partner may have HIV, or you suspect your partner is cheating, it's like you should get tested. In fact, if you suspect your partner's cheating, one of the first things, in my opinion, that you should do is get tested. Even before you confront your partner, go get tested. Maybe that's the only proof you need. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what your behavior is. But I was fortunate that I got caught cheating, because getting caught cheating is what made me get tested. That's it, straight up. So I caught it soon enough that I was able to make it undetectable. But HIV is one of those things that's really sneaky, and it can hide and wait around and wait around and wait around, and you don't see side effects until it's too late on some occasions. So if you're sexually active and you're not using protection, especially if you're on sex apps and things like that I used to frequent all the time, you got to be careful, especially with people that are using drugs. Because I can tell you one thing, when I was on coke or meth or even ecstasy, I wasn't really caring who I was having sex with, for one, but two, I really didn't care about protection. And I'm not saying that you behave this way, but if you do, or even if you have a little bit of doubt, go get tested. It's worth it. Pediatric HIV. It says here, while mother-to-child transmission rates have decreased, children born with HIV often face unique challenges, including stigma, treatment adherence, and transitioning to adult care. I know, I interviewed a girl, I wish I knew her name, Maria, what's her last name? Anyway, she was a child with HIV, and getting to hear her story, just how it all happened. And I mean, it's scary because there are kids with HIV that somehow they got passed down through their parents, or, there's other ways that it can happen. And, this is this stigma that they have to deal with. It just immediately people think, he's gay. And then there's nothing, and again, there's people that have all kinds of opinions on if being a homosexual is wrong or being bisexual is wrong, or all of those judgments. This is not the place for that. I mean, I didn't get HIV from eating Cheerios. I mean, I got it from sex with men and drugs. And of course, I was having sex with everything. So anyway, pediatric HIV, it can happen. It's not necessarily through sex. It can be through blood transfusions, and it can happen in pregnancy. I mean, there's so many other ways that it can happen from what I understand. But the stigma around it is what is troubling, because you talk about mental health issues. Imagine a child. I mean, think about your first time you had sex. I mean, assuming you're not a virgin. Kind of nerve-wracking, right? You probably didn't have to say, oh, by the way, I have HIV. And you probably didn't have to have that conversation, and it was nerve-wracking enough having sex the first time. Can you imagine? Or even dating or falling in love, and you and are friends, or you're a kid, you're in junior high, and you got a cut open, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can give this to someone, and then you're freaking out. Like, I mean, imagine the psychological warfare that would be. It's terrifying. Aging populations. As antiviral treatments improve, people with HIV are living longer. I got a really cool story about this. This aging HIV positive population faces unique challenges, including increased risk at certain age-related diseases at a younger age. So the thing about it with the HIV meds that I take, it boosts my immune system. So I don't really get sick anymore. It's also very hard on my liver, very hard on my heart. There are side effects to my meds. But one of the things that, I'm very fortunate that when I grew up or when I found out that I had HIV, there was tons of resources in place. The Ryan White Foundation, God bless the Ryan White Foundation, even the Elton John Foundation. They do a ton of good work, and they provide a ton of resources where people that don't have the money, because that HIV medication is so expensive. It's so expensive. So when I first found out, I was basically homeless, and then I ended up being homeless. I didn't have the $5,000 a month to pay for the meds, but there was programs in place, and those programs saved my life. So what's happening, there's RAIN. RAIN is another organization that's great. The people are living long enough now with HIV that they're getting all the other diseases like cancer and and heart issues and COPD, and some of that can be brought on by the medication, and sometimes it's just lifestyle choices. But there is an aging population with HIV. Co-infections. People with HIV are more susceptible to certain infections like tuberculosis. And in some regions, TB is the leading cause of death among those with HIV. So one of the things that this one scares me the most, and here's why. Because when I found out that I had HIV, all the doctors, I mean, it was not just taking the meds. Then they want to start giving me vaccines. And and I'm forgetting the name of it, but there is a brain-eating disease that is susceptible in men with HIV, or actually people with HIV. But I think it's men get it the most, and I think it has to do with anal sex, but another conversation. But they pressured me for years to get this vaccine. I kept saying no, like something felt wrong about it. And, they did warn me about TB, but this is not the same thing. Meningitis, I think it is. I think that's it. I think I'm saying that right. But finally I gave in because they said, listen, you are susceptible. Like, even if you're not sleeping around, like, you're susceptible to getting this. I didn't want to hear that. Like, I finally got to this place where I loved my life, wanted to live my life and not, be self-limiting because of the diagnosis. Well, I got that vaccine and, long story short, that I thought I was dying. And for months, like, I had whelps and sores that were popping out of my body. Thought I had blood cancer. I mean, it was awful. It was one of the most awful experiences of my life. It was early on in my relationship with Jessica too, and it was just awful. But it was all from the vaccine. So, I mean, co-infections you are susceptible to. That's what they will tell you. I believe it's true. And yet at the same time, the medication also boosts your immune system in a way that you almost never get sick, but yet you can still get cross infections. It's kind of a mind F, but that's literally what it is. Mental health. Depression and anxiety rates are higher among people with HIV. Mental health support is a crucial component of comprehensive HIV care. Absolutely. Again, I guess I am, recommending my book. If you don't have the money, it's free on my website, theworldsmayor.com. You just have to read it on the website. You can go there. It's free. Because here's the thing. I may be selling services and I have expensive services, but I mean, they're really not expensive. They're tons of value. I mean, just look at the numbers. It looks like a big number, but spread it out over a year. It's not. But that said, there's people that I have a heart to help and serve that don't even have that money. And I understand that. So I'm here to serve. And there's ways that we can work together, even if you don't have money. And another thing too, again, my book is free on the website. And you check it out if you don't have the money to buy it. But if you have the money to buy it, please do. Help a brother out. Anyway, HIV and indigenous communities. Indigenous populations in various parts of the world have unique vulnerabilities to HIV, often exacerbated by socioeconomic factors, cultural barriers, and limited access to healthcare. This is where I want to give a very bold opinion, and I want to be very careful. But because of who it is, and I don't want to just start crapping on people, but there's a certain man that's really famous and really rich that is known for creating software. And he just so happens to be very involved with vaccines. You can go to India and Africa and ask about this man and see what they have to say. Because these communities that I just spoke about are a lot of the communities that were tested on. Like, they had all of these drugs tested on them. They were the lab rats. They were the human trial, if you will. And the results were very, very, very bad. So the fact is that we are very blessed in America, and I'm sure other parts of the world, to have easy access to this medication, and it's life-saving medication. But the facts are that there are people that don't have access to it, and that needs to change. That gets to change. Last thing here is treatment access disparities. This is huge. While antiretroviral therapy, ART, is more accessible than ever, disparities remain. Rural communities, certain countries, and marginalized populations may struggle with access to treatment. This is true. This is very true. So I brought up, I'm fortunate that I live basically in a city, and I have access to proper healthcare, and I have access to proper resources. But when you get into some of smaller communities, you don't have the RAIN Foundation, you don't have the Ryan White Foundation, you don't have programs that fund medications and resources, healthcare, mental health care, and all of that stuff is very, very important. So the reason I wanted to show all this is to not talk about my own HIV really, but to talk about HIV as what it is. You know, it's not, people don't really know that much about it. People don't want to know, and people think they know a lot. But going through that list, there's some hopefully new information for you, and new information that hopefully encourages you to go out and look and find out. I mean, especially if you're sexually active, you don't know if you're being cheated on, you suspect your partner may be bisexual or gay, they're sneaking around. Those are flags. And I'm just being honest with you, women, ladies, or even men. Like, men get cheated on too. And you just don't know. If you suspect your partner's cheating, I recommend going to get tested and then having a really honest conversation. And if you're one of those people that struggles with truth, I just want to say this plainly as possible. Truth is the only way. Truth is the only way that you will ever find any freedom, because the lies will pile in on you. And even when you think that you're getting away with the lie, it's going to come back and bite you really freaking hard. Thank you for watching. We'll see you at the next segment.